dysfunctional vat. Previously, I had a row of pinto beans here. I'm slowly picking them up. That, I believe, is a 1.5 gallon or 2 gallon bucket, which is pretty full. I'm about to go dump those in a bag and come back, start working on these. I just finished shelling a 5-foot section of pinto beans, which, if you recall, I said that this is intense gardening. There are 6 rows of beans planted 1 inch apart. They're getting additional water, additional fertilizer in order to grow. Out of that 1 5-foot length, I got a little over 1.25 pounds of dried beans once they were shelled. So that's a pretty good take home. I don't know how many are going to be in this bucket or how many are left here. As you can see, it's quite long. The beeping you hear is a timer. I'm watering using a timer right now. This is the afternoon, not the morning routine, which is what's about to bring me over to what I'm discussing. You've seen these plants wilted in a previous video. This is what they look like in the afternoon when they start perking back up. And as you can see, with this new method of watering, I'm getting real good penetration side to side, which I'll go into more detail a little bit later. Now, I want to discuss one other thing since I've been talking about it so much. This is the distribution header right here, and as you can see, my line is blue all the way around, which means that I'm getting fertilizer in it. I found that I can't have 2 exit valves running at the same time and get a good consistent flow of fertilizer. What I have to do is make sure that all the water is flowing through this top line, and then the distribution is working properly. That's just a minor little point, but I thought I'd mention that to you because I've been running this line over here open with this valve closed, this valve open, and I wasn't getting a real good distribution of fertilizer. So now that I've figured that out, the next thing to do will be to finish hooking all of these up, and then it will be set up. Each one of these lines here will individually operate. They'll not, once I have this in place, the rest of this hose hooked up, each time one of these valves open, it will only be flowing in this valve here and out. These others will be shut off, and so we shouldn't have any kind of a problem thereafter. The original system was 53 feet long, just a drip irrigation with punctures every 1 foot. The way it worked is I get these wet spots that are just slightly not big enough no matter what because of the porosity of the soil and such. So I went back and I ran a second line right beside it, offset by 6 inches. And what I got, how it worked, was I got a good mesh of watering on the plants. Now the way I set this thing up to work, I have an elbow here, an elbow there, a 4-way here, and at the top a 3-way and then 2 elbows. These 2 lines right here on the outside are my drip. The line in the center just feeds water to the top so that I'm getting lots of water up at the top, I'm getting water at the bottom, and it sort of equalizes. When I did this original system, sometimes there was a lot less water at the top than there was at the bottom. Using this system right here, where I have 3 lines, 2 with drip emitters, and 1 that comes all the way up just carrying water to the top to fill in any water that's coming out. gave me much better quality watering, and my plants thrived a whole lot better. So I'm going to show you how I build these systems. What we have is a four-way. This four-way will plug in here, and we'll cut it about 1 inch out, which is just enough to get in an elbow, or a 90-degree, whatever you want to call it. So there we go. We will cut another piece of pipe at the same length. Let it heat on the surface here for a few seconds. Then we'll force it onto here. Now we take another elbow. We'll let it warm up for just a moment. And we force it on here. We will now hook this onto here. This is the piece that will feed to the water line. We'll cut that at about 2 inches. And now we will stick approximately 2-inch lines onto this. And this is our piece. Now we're going to put the white connectors onto this, which will feed to my lines. This is a drip line, this is a drip line, this is the line that feeds the water to the far end. And as the water starts to back up, it will come back through here and it will then become more forceful through this. This will give us a much more even distribution system. Now I have these right here that I'll cut just a little bit shorter. I'll put these on. And now I'll build a piece that looks identical to this. Now this is a four-way. I have to have water coming into this, which will distribute through the drip lines and the feed line to the distal end. And now what I have to do is add the connectors for the distal end right here, which will hook on at the far end. This allows the drip line to come up here and the feed line to bring water back into this one and back into this one. By the way, it's 4th of July weekend 2022, and I bought some firecrackers. I bought a couple of packages, and I use those late at night to get pigs out of the area so that my dogs will quit barking. It's cheaper to use firecrackers, and I'm assuming I can get firecrackers for some length of time. Alright, so this is ready. Now I'll put the white connector on here and plug into my lines, and then we're good to go. So that's the next thing that we have to do. Now remember, one line is every foot, the other one is every 6 inches. So it's offset so that we get 100% coverage of water. Now as far as where the lines, when they're laid out, are concerned, they have to be a specific distance in order to get my 6-inch circles. They have to be laid out in a specific way to get my 6-inch circles so that I'm able to water my garden. But this gives you an idea as to what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. This is a 4-way, this is a 3-way. This is the proximal end where it feeds from the water coming from the vault, and this is the distal end where I'm equalizing the pressure down the length of it. As you can see, it's filling in now that the plants are evenly getting water. Stuff that previously had not grown is now growing with this slight modification. These plants that you see right here, let me see if I can zoom in on them. These are black beans. They were planted 5 days ago. They were planted very heavily. They've got plenty of water. They're all coming up. Well, the ones that I see that are coming up are coming up. But the point I'm getting at is, this is intense gardening. I'm planting very heavy, and the idea is to get the maximum amount of crops out of what I have to work with. I'm hoping this will take, but I'm not going to promise anything. We're going to disconnect this line right here because it doesn't attach to anything. And we're going to, actually it does, we're going to disconnect this line right here, and we're going to connect it to this. This is the line that comes from the proximal end. We now disconnect these pieces, and we hook these pieces onto this. This now allows the water from the proximal end to come down here to the distal end and backfeed in and feed all our plants. We'll be doing this for the next 4 rows, and I'll build more of these a little bit later to take care of more planting that I want to do. We are in the very hot of the summer, so a lot of the plants I would like to plant are not going to do well. But you can see how I'm doing this. This is the line that matches the center line previously shown, where the maximum flow is coming in. Once this starts to back up, then the water will distribute evenly into the other lines, and then it will equalize throughout, and I'll get good propagation of water throughout the entire system.